A rogue black hole, no ship, no warning. Just gravity, crossing the orbit of Neptune like it owns the place. And by the time anyone on Earth notices, the countdown will already be years old. Nothing looks wrong yet. No light, no sound. Space, doing what space does, being empty. But somewhere past the edge of the solar system, something the size of a city has begun bending the fabric around it. And Earth is about to feel it before a single telescope sees it coming. Here's the part almost nobody expects. A black hole does not announce itself. It doesn't glow. It doesn't roar across the sky like the movies promise. If one drifted anywhere near us, the first sign would not be visual at all. It would be math going wrong, orbits twitching by fractions of a degree, clocks disagreeing with each other for no reason anyone can explain. And by the time astronomers pieced the anomaly together, the object responsible would already be years into its approach. So the real question was never, what would we see? It's how close is close enough to matter. The answer starts smaller and stranger than most people assume. Most stellar mass black holes are surprisingly compact. 10 times the mass of the sun, folded into a sphere you could park inside a football stadium. Invisible, silent, utterly indifferent to whatever crosses its path. That's the trap hiding inside this entire scenario. Something powerful enough to unravel a solar system could pass within a light year of Earth and leave no visible trace at all, which means distance is the only thing standing between harmless and catastrophic. And distance, on a cosmic scale, doesn't stay fixed. Push it out a few light years, and honestly, we'd barely notice. Gravity fades fast. Space is mostly emptiness, and one more point of mass barely registers in a solar system already full of them. But there's a line out there, a boundary most people have never heard of. And the moment something crosses it, the story stops being theoretical. That line is the Oort cloud, a faint, frozen shell of comets circling us a full light year out, untouched since before Earth had continents. Let a black hole drift inside it, and the sky itself starts keeping a different kind of time. Comets that have not moved in 4 billion years begin to shift. Slowly, then not so slowly. Some get flung outward into interstellar space, gone forever. Others bend inward, falling toward the inner solar system on trajectories they have never followed before. A slow storm, decades or centuries in the making, of icy wanderers finally waking up. That's the first domino. Not fire, not collapse, just nudged comets, which is exactly what makes it so unsettling. The beginning of a black hole encounter does not look like an apocalypse. It looks like a rounding error in the sky. A number that should not be off is. But dominoes do not stop at one. And this one has a lot of room left to fall. Let the intruder drift inside the orbit of Neptune, and the planets themselves start to answer back. Gravitational tugs, faint at first, accumulate year over year. Orbits stretch almost imperceptibly, somewhere out there. A moon that's circled its planet since the solar system was born could be quietly stolen, pulled into orbit around something that is not a planet at all. And Earth, if the black hole never crosses our own orbital path, we might walk away with nothing worse than a stretched year. and subtly shifted seasons, a solar system quietly rewritten instead of destroyed. That's the version where we get lucky. Push the hypothetical closer, faster, more direct, and luck stops being part of the equation. Bring a black hole within a few million kilometers of Earth, and tidal forces take over completely. Not the gentle kind you feel at the shoreline, the kind that comes from one side, a planet, being pulled violently harder than the other. Oceans would rise into standing waves that never fall back down. Tectonic plates that have held steady for hundreds of millions of years would begin fracturing under a strain they were never built to survive. And still, no light, no dramatic red glow warning anyone it's coming. Just an invisible point of extreme gravity, quietly dismantling a planet from the inside of its own physics. Which brings us to the misconception this entire story has been quietly building toward. Here's what almost nobody gets right. Even in the worst version of this scenario, Earth would never get sucked in the way people picture it. A black hole does not vacuum up matter across vast distances. That's science fiction, not science. At planetary range, its gravity behaves exactly like any other object of identical mass. The real horror was never a cosmic drain. It's something colder. A companion so dense it rewrites the meaning of nearby without ever once needing to touch us. Which loops back to where this all began. That first orbital twitch. That impossible rounding error nobody in the observatory could explain. Because if a black hole this size ever crossed near Earth, we'd likely get years, maybe decades, of warning before the worst of it arrived. Time enough to know. Time enough to watch it happen in slow motion. Time enough to ask whether foresight, in this case, would be a mercy or the cruelest detail of the entire encounter. The universe, it turns out, does not need monsters with teeth. It just needs mass, patience, and enough gravity to make distance stop mattering. And somewhere out there, in the dark between the stars, that kind of mass may already be moving, quietly, invisibly, on a timeline longer than civilizations, closing a gap we'll never measure in miles, only in years we do not yet know we've started counting.